Welcome to The Leftovers. I'm Rachel Bell. The Leftovers is audio left on the cutting room floor from last week's Your Last Meal interview. And today you'll hear never-before-heard cuts from J. Ryan Stradal, the New York Times best-selling author of 3 novels, Kitchens of the Great Midwest, The Lager Queen of Minnesota, and Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club. On last week's episode, J. Ryan was lamenting that he grew up eating bland food cooked by parents who were more concerned with getting calories than having a flavorful meal. So as soon as he got his driver's license, he started making trips to the Twin Cities to try foods he'd only read about in the newspaper.
I had never even heard of a lot of these nouns before. Tagine, shakshuka, saffron, complete mysteries to me. Totally weird to be a teenage foodie in the 1990s. That term didn't even exist yet. We didn't know what to call ourselves.
That was last week's show. Now, on to The Leftovers with J. Ryan Stradal. What does the J in your name stand for?
You may not believe me, but it doesn't stand for anything. My parents named me J. Ryan Stradal. Yeah, the J was originally going to be Joseph because I had a great uncle named Joseph who died shortly before I was born. But my dad's mom poo-pooed the idea, and so they thought, well, let's give him the J. So it still honors my great uncle without annoying grandma.
Is it true? I thought I read that you didn't even know you had a J until you were older.
That's right. I was about 12. I saw my birth certificate. My parents called me Ryan. Everyone just called me Ryan. I didn't know I was J. Ryan. I was born in 75, and there were 4 or 5 other Ryans in my class. There was a few J's as well, but no J. Ryans. And so that differentiated me. And it's like, I just want to stand out in a good way. I just want to clarify my presence in this realm. Yeah, people since then have assumed I'm hiding behind some embarrassing name or just they're trying to appear more literary by having an initial somewhere. Yeah, unfortunately, no, it's just unusual parents.
You and J. Kenji Lopez all holding down the fort. I don't know if his stands for anything or if it's just the J also. I want to look it up now. Okay, Kenji's J stands for James, and he was a guest on the show in April 2022. You can find a link to that episode in the show notes. Let's do a little speed round.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it is summer, which means state fairs across the country. There is no state fair like the Minnesota State Fair, the biggest and most famous. What is your favorite fair food?
Oh, wow. I always get a Pronto Pup. It's a variation on a corn dog that uses buckwheat flour instead of cornmeal.
Oh, interesting. And does it taste much different? It still has that breading, but it's buckwheat?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little different. I don't know anyone who only eats one and hates the other. I'm sure they exist, but they're a specialty.
Actually, some Minnesotans do have strong opinions about corn dogs versus Pronto Pups. At least that's what the internet tells me. Most notably, an article on RacketMN.com written in 2022 by Natalie Mendez. It's titled, Corn Dogs Rule, Pronto Pups Drool. Pronto Pup? More like Pronto Suck. According to the article, Pronto Pups and corn dogs have been rivals in Minnesota for at least half a century. Minnesota Public Radio reported a long, in-depth story on the subject. They say folks tend to believe a corn dog has a cornmeal batter and a Pronto Pup is enrobed in pancake batter. But the truth is, they are both dipped in a cornmeal batter. The only difference is sugar. Corn dogs have sugar in their batter, and Pronto Pups do not. Despite being a Minnesota State Fair staple, the Pronto Pup was actually invented in Oregon on Labor Day weekend, 1939. As legend goes, it was a rainy day, and a hot dog vendor named George Boyington had to throw out all of his buns after they got soaked and soggy. He thought if only there was a way to bake the buns on the spot. Eventually, he dreamed up the corn dog, which cooked so quickly, he named them Pronto Pups. He and his wife trademarked the Pronto Pup name in 1942 and started selling franchises. He would ship vendors his flour mix, along with a single rule. Pronto Pups were to be served plain or with mustard. No ketchup. A rule that is definitely not followed today. The Pronto Pup was served for the first time at the Minnesota State Fair in 1947 and remains a Midwestern favorite. You share a disdain of brunch with one of your Les Meals past guest, Ben Gibbard from Death Cab and the Postal Service. What is it that you don't like about brunch?
Oh, it just kills the day for me. I don't like day drinking as
Yeah.
a writer. It just ruins my productivity. Yeah, man, it just scoops out the heart of a day. I like to get together with friends and enjoy a leisurely meal at the end of the day after a day of work when I can relax.
Yeah.
If I have to like leave the house at 10:30 a.m. or 11 a.m. to go meet friends for a 2-hour meal, which brunch always ends up being like, oh man, like now I just come back and it's 1:30 and now I'm sluggish from eating heavy food and,
Yes.
drinking mimosas or whatever. And I'm just like, I just ruined my day. I'm not that crazy about brunch food either. I'm not a huge fan of American breakfast food. So hybridizing it with other meals just seems like vandalism. Yeah.
I like that word in that context.
Yeah.
Violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Japanese breakfast. Like that to me is the ideal breakfast. Just like some pieces of fruit and some fish and rice. Sounds great.
I agree with you. I lived there for a year and it makes you feel very energized, which is kind of the point of breakfast, which we ignore in this country by eating, like a stack of pancakes. But yeah, like miso soup, rice, a little piece of broiled fish and some pickles is really good.
I love it. Yeah, maybe some melon. Yeah. 1 or 2 pieces of muskmelon or cantaloupe.
A $300 melon.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What is your perfect birthday cake?
Wow. I'm not a big cake eater, so I
or
don't
dessert in general.
Oh, dessert. Wow, what's my favorite dessert? I never think about that. How about a pie, a fruit pie? Coming from Minnesota, I come from a long line of bakers and pie makers and love a good blueberry pie.
This might be a hard question to put you on the spot for, but in your bio, you say he does not own a gun or a motorcycle, which makes him unique amongst the men in his extended family. What is something that you own that is very different than the men in your extended family?
Oh, a wine fridge.
Oh, yeah, you're a wine person.
Yeah. It's small, it's modest, but I also like to move through my wine. I mean, Jeremy and Diana, the couple in Seattle I mentioned earlier, were just out here visiting me and we drank all my good wine. And like, that's what it's for. We drink like a 24-year-old Bordeaux I'd been sitting on forever. And it was like, now's the time,
Yes.
I had a buddy whose dad died. He was a huge wine collector. Didn't drink any of his wine. Like all the wine ended up with his son. And he was just like, I don't know what to do with all this wine. He's not a huge wine guy. It's just like, don't let that happen to you.
Drink it. Yeah.
Drink it now. Yeah.
This is a topic I really enjoy. I was just talking about this with someone this weekend because I don't know if this is true or not, but when I was in my early 20s, a friend told me that in Spain, there's a national day, an open the bottle of wine day that you're saving for a special occasion. It's like, there's never going to be an occasion special enough at this point. You're never going to open it. Just open it. And like, I've had my own battles with this where, years ago, someone gave me this expensive bottle of like truffle oil or olive oil or something. And the same thing, I'm like, dripping a drop until finally it went bad and I didn't use it. And so I'm trying to do that, like eat the food, wear the clothes, wear the jewelry, use the good china, like don't save it for the next generation. Yeah,
that's right. We can't even promise that the next generation will appreciate it, let alone, use it in good health the way you didn't.
You write women really well. I sometimes would flip to the back to remember, like, who wrote this again? And I read that you kind of feature your mom's personality and characteristics in a lot of your books.
Yeah, whatever credit anyone might give me for writing female characters, I have to pass on 100% to her. I would not be able to write the characters I do without her influence that continues to this day. She passed away in 2005, 10 years before my first book was published, but I would not have written that book if she hadn't been in my head the whole time. I mean, I wrote that book for her. I mean, she had always wanted to be a novelist herself and passed away before she could start writing a book. And when I sat down to write that one, I thought, this is for you, Mom. Put her in these characters and just drew out situations that I knew about because of her. Also thinking about like, hey, would this character pass muster with her? She was a huge reader. We were kind of in a 2-person book club when I was in high school, and we would read books and talk about whether or not a certain character was realistic. She's the editor in my head. Also, I pass everything through my partner, Brooke. My editor is female. My editor's assistants are female. All but one of the people in my novel writing group are women. So whatever escapes the filter of my mom in my head will likely be caught by one of these women. By and large, I moved to write these characters as a way of keeping my mom alive. and as a way of continuing a dialogue with her.
Mm-hmm. And that was J. Ryan Stradal's Leftovers. If you missed last week's episode with J. Ryan, scroll back and give it a listen. The Leftovers and Your Last Meal are products of Seattle's Cascade PBS. This episode was mixed and mastered by Sarah Bernard and created, hosted, and co-produced by me. Original theme music by Prom Queen. You can find me on Instagram, Hello Rachel Bell. You can sign up for my free newsletter, rachelbell.substack.com. And a little reminder that my cookbook, Open Sesame, will be out on November 12th. But you can order it now. Pre-sales are open. You can find it at all the big online retailers, as well as some small ones like booklarder.com, which is Seattle's only cookbook shop. Oh, it's the best. I'm Rachel Bell, and this is The Leftovers.